great hall fell silent as Maya entered, her bare feet whispering against the cold marble floor. She walked slowly, deliberately between two rows of people who watched her with eyes full of judgment and fear. The chandeliers above cast golden light across their faces, creating shadows that danced and flickered like living things. Maya kept her head high, though her body ached with every step. Her simple gray dress was torn at the shoulder, and her left arm was wrapped in bloodied bandages. She carried a walking stick not for ceremony, but because without it she would fall. 3 days ago she had been a different person. 3 days ago she had been the village healer, respected and trusted. Now she was a traitor in their eyes, accused of a crime that went against everything their people believed. The Alpha King sat at the far end of the hall, upon a throne of dark wood and silver. He was younger than Maya had expected, perhaps 30 years old, with dark hair that fell past his shoulders and eyes that seemed to look right through her. He wore no crown, but his presence filled the room like a winter storm. Everyone could feel his power, ancient and absolute. Maya stopped before him, her breathing labored. The walk had taken what little strength she had left. She leaned heavily on her stick and waited. Maya of the Eastern Woods, the Alpha King's voice was deep and measured, carrying easily through the vast space. You stand accused of protecting a wolf cub, a child of my enemy, a creature that, by our oldest laws, should have been killed on sight. A murmur rippled through the assembled crowd. Maya heard the anger in their voices, the fear. For generations, her people had lived in an uneasy peace with the wolf clans that inhabited the mountains beyond their borders. But that peace had shattered 6 months ago when raiders from the northern pack had attacked 3 villages, leaving death and destruction in their wake. Since then, any wolf found in human territory was to be executed. No exceptions. The law was clear. Maya's throat was dry, but she forced herself to speak. Yes, my lord. The accusation is true. The hall erupted in shouts. People rose from their seats, their faces twisted with rage and betrayal. Maya had delivered their children, had healed their sick, had sat with their dying, and now they looked at her as if she were a stranger, as if everything she had done for them meant nothing. The Alpha King raised one hand, and silence fell immediately, absolute and complete. Tell me what happened, he said quietly. From the beginning. Maya closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her strength. When she opened them again, she saw not the angry crowd, not the imposing throne, but the forest as it had been 3 days ago. I was gathering herbs in the deep woods, she began, her voice steady despite her exhaustion, near the old stone bridge that crosses the ravine. It was early morning, and the mist was still thick between the trees. I heard crying, not human crying, but the sound of an animal in pain. She paused, remembering the sharp, desperate whimpers that had cut through the forest silence. I found him in a hollow beneath a fallen oak, a wolf cub no more than 3 months old. His back leg was caught in a hunter's trap, an old one, rusted and forgotten. The metal had cut deep into his flesh. He was bleeding, dying. You should have left him, someone shouted from the crowd. You should have let nature take its course. Maya turned toward the voice, her eyes finding a man she had known for 20 years, whose daughter she had saved from fever just last winter. Would you say the same if it had been a child? She asked quietly. Any child, even one you did not know, even one from a family you considered your enemy? Would you walk past and let them die in agony? The man's face reddened, but he said nothing. Maya turned back to the Alpha King. I could not leave him to suffer, my lord. So I used my tools to open the trap. It took time. The cub was frightened and in terrible pain. He tried to bite me, but he was too weak. When I finally freed his leg, I thought perhaps I could treat the wound and send him on his way. But you did not, the Alpha King said. It was not a question. No, my lord, because while I was treating his wound, his mother came. The hall grew deathly quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. A mother wolf protecting her young was one of the most dangerous creatures in the forest. She was massive, Maya continued, her voice dropping to almost a whisper, larger than any wolf I had ever seen. Her fur was silver gray and her eyes were gold like autumn leaves in sunlight. She emerged from the mist and I knew that I was going to die. Maya's hand trembled on her walking stick. Even now, the memory made her heart race with primal fear. The cub cried out when he saw her, that small sound that young ones make when they want their mother. She moved toward us and I could see her muscles tensing, preparing to attack. I was bent over her cub, my hands covered in his blood. From her perspective, I was the threat, the one causing her child pain. So you ran, the Alpha King said, but again, There was something in his tone that suggested he already knew the answer. No, my lord. I stayed. I spoke to her softly, the way I speak to frightened animals. I showed her my hands, showed her that I was helping, not harming. I do not know if she understood my words, but perhaps she understood my intention. She came closer, close enough that I could feel her breath on my face, hot and smelling of blood and wild places. Maya's eyes had grown distant, seeing not the hall but the forest. That moment of impossible connection. I finished bandaging the cub's leg while she watched. Then I stepped back very slowly and gave her room to take her child. She picked him up gently in her jaws, so gently the way a mother carries something precious, and then she looked at me. Really looked at me. It was like looking into the eyes of someone who understands everything you are, all your fears and hopes and secrets. And then she left, the Alpha King prompted. No, my lord, that is when the hunters came. A new tension filled the hall. This was the part of the story no one had heard, the part that had been kept secret until now. 6 men, Maya said, her voice growing harder, from our village and the next one over. They had been tracking the mother wolf for days, wanting revenge for the raids, wanting blood. They came crashing through the undergrowth with spears and bows, and they saw the wolf with her cub, and they saw me standing there, and they did not care to understand. They attacked, the Alpha King said softly. They attacked. The mother wolf tried to run with her cub, but she was surrounded. The hunters were skilled, coordinated. They drove her into the ravine, away from her escape routes. She fought like fury itself, my lord. She wounded 2 of them badly. But there were too many, and she was trying to protect her cub, trying to shield him with her body. Maya's voice broke, and she paused to steady herself. Tears ran down her face now, and she made no attempt to hide them. I tried to stop the hunters. I shouted at them, threw myself between them and the wolves. I told them about the trap, about how I had helped, about how the cub was innocent of any crime. They did not listen. One of them struck me with the shaft of his spear, knocked me to the ground. They said I was a traitor, that I had gone mad, that I deserved to die alongside the beasts. She looked down at her bandaged arm, at the 3 long tears in her dress. The mother wolf broke through their circle. She could have escaped then, could have saved herself, but her cub had fallen, rolled toward the edge of the ravine. She went back for him. She picked him up in her jaws, and the hunters closed in, and I knew they were both going to die. Maya's voice dropped to barely more than a whisper. The hall was so quiet that her words seemed to echo off the stone walls. So I covered them with my body. I threw myself over the mother wolf and her cub, and I spread my arms wide, and I told the hunters that if they wanted to kill these wolves, they would have to kill me first. Someone in the crowd gasped. The Alpha King leaned forward slightly, his dark eyes fixed on Maya's face. The mother wolf clawed me, Maya continued. She did not understand what I was doing. She thought I was attacking, so she defended her cub. Her claws tore open my arm and my shoulder. The pain was blinding, but I did not move. I stayed over them, protecting them while my blood fell onto her silver fur. What did the hunters do? The Alpha King asked, and for the first time there was something in his voice that might have been emotion. They argued among themselves. Some wanted to shoot their arrows through me to get to the wolves. Others said killing a healer would bring bad luck. While they argued, the mother wolf realized I was not attacking. She went still beneath me. I could feel her heart beating fast and hard against my chest. I could feel the cub trembling between us. Maya's legs were shaking now, barely able to support her weight. But she continued, needing to finish the story. Finally, their leader made a decision. He said they would take me back to the village for judgment, and they would return later for the wolves. They dragged me away, and as they did, I looked back. The mother wolf was watching me. She did not run, not immediately. She just stood there, her cub in her mouth, watching me being taken away. And did they return for the wolves? The Alpha King asked. They tried, my lord. But when they went back an hour later, the wolves were gone, vanished into the deep forest where even our best trackers cannot follow. The Alpha King was silent for a long moment, his eyes never leaving Maya's face. Then he stood, and the entire hall held its breath. He descended the steps from his throne slowly, each footfall echoing in the vast space. He walked across the marble floor until he stood directly before Maya, so close she could see flecks of amber in his dark eyes. Do you know who I am? He asked quietly. You are the Alpha King, my lord, Maya said, confused by the question. Do you know what that means? Do you understand what I truly am? And then Maya saw it. Saw the slight change in his eyes, the way they caught the light, the inhuman intelligence behind them. She understood, and her breath caught in her throat. You are both, she whispered.
Human and wolf.
You walk in two worlds, I do, he said. And so did my sister. The silver-furred wolf you saved was my sister, transformed and hunting with her cub, my nephew. The raiders who attacked your villages were renegades, outlaws from a clan we have already destroyed. My sister was tracking them when she was caught in that trap. The hall erupted in chaos. People shouted, some in disbelief, others in anger. But the Alpha King raised his hand again and silence fell. Maya of the Eastern Woods, he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. You spent your last strength protecting my family. You spilled your blood to save their lives. You faced death without hesitation, expecting no reward, seeking no recognition. You did it simply because it was right, because a mother and child were in danger regardless of what form they wore. He reached into his robe and drew out something that caught the light, a pendant silver-shaped like a wolf's head hanging from a leather cord. This is the mark of the pack, he said. It is given only to those who have proven themselves friends to all who run beneath the moon, human and wolf alike. It has not been awarded in 3 generations. He placed the pendant around Maya's neck with his own hands. From this day forward, you are under my protection. Any who harm you, harm me. Any who honor you, honor all my people. And more than this, I declare that the law of execution is ended. From this day forward, my people and yours will learn to see each other truly, as you saw my sister and nephew, not as enemies but as living beings deserving of compassion and justice. Tears flowed freely down Maya's face now. Her legs finally gave out and she began to fall. But the Alpha King caught her, held her gently, with the same care the mother wolf had shown her cub. Thank you, he said softly, so only she could hear. My sister told me what you did. She came to me in the night, showed me her wounds and her cub's bandaged leg. She told me about a healer with a heart braver than any warrior she had known. Thank you for saving my family. Maya looked up at him through her tears. Is the cub healing? She managed to ask. The Alpha King smiled, and in that smile, Maya saw both the man and the wolf, the king and the brother, the ancient power and the simple gratitude. He is healing perfectly, he said, thanks to you. As Maya was carried from the hall to receive proper care for her wounds, she glimpsed something through the tall windows. On a distant hillside, silhouetted against the setting sun, stood a large silver wolf and a small cub. They were watching the hall, watching over her. And Maya knew that some bonds, forged in moments of desperate courage and compassion, transcend all boundaries of form, or species, or law. She had spent her last breath protecting those who needed her, and in doing so, had changed the fate of 2 peoples forever. The wolf and her cub turned and disappeared into the forest, but Maya knew they would return. There were bridges to build now between worlds that had been separate for too long, and she would help build them, if she could survive, and something in her heart told her that she would.